Welcome to Therapist Uncensored. I'm Ann Kelly.
And I'm Sue Marriott. So why don't we jump right in, actually. Why would anybody bother to sit here and watch a video and learn about attachment? What's the big deal? You sitting there, wherever you are, have an attachment system. And if you have a healthy attachment system, it is a bona fide elixir for mental health and physical health and emotional health. And I feel like Mattress Mac. I'm like, not only will it help you understand yourself better and help you make friends better,
parents,
and
better physical health. The more securely attached you are, the better physical
it affects cardiovascular,
immune system.
The
it affects
immune system.
The immune system.
It affects our parenting, which then therefore affects our children. But not only that.
All right, in this section, we're going to talk about what is attachment. You hear the word, we throw it around, but what the heck is it? An infant comes into the world completely dependent on their parents. We feed them, change them, comfort them, play with them. But our most important number one job is responding to our infant's distress or fears. So how a caregiver responds to their child's distress is the core of the attachment system. It's the bond that directly impacts the development of how we can control and regulate our emotions as we grow up and as adults. That's why it's so important to build the reflective muscles of our brain and learn about attachment. Most of the attachment research to date has identified 4 distinct attachment types: secure, preoccupied, dismissive, and disorganized. Let's quickly review them now. Secure attachment.
When things go right, naturally occurring secure attachment. I thought it was a Bigfoot, that it never happens. You know, it's like there's been spottings and sightings, and
Shockingly, more than 53% actually really do land in that secure place.
So if you had parents that were sensitive, warm, loving, and responsive to your distress, you're likely to have developed a secure attachment style. You know, parenting is difficult. We all get overwhelmed at times, and nobody can respond in this loving, caring way all the time. But 70% of the time, if your parent's able to, you're likely to have developed a secure attachment style. Basically means as an adult, intimate relationships feel comfortable. You're not scared of healthy dependency. That's really important. And you also feel comfortable being alone and independent. So, basically you believe you're lovable and you have a lot of self-security. If you are not able to depend reliably on your parents or caregivers, you may have developed an organized way to adapt to keep them available to take care of you, and research calls this insecure attachment.
what happens to these kids in the insecure is that instead of just the normal development of the brain unfolding, they begin to have to adapt.
Right.
And they adapt in different directions. So let's talk about that.
Preoccupied attachment, also called anxious ambivalent. A preoccupied style of coping is likely to develop if your parents were more inconsistent. At times, they could be attuned and responsive, and at other times, unavailable or maybe even overwhelmed by your emotions. And also, because you know what it's like to have and to lose closeness, you can become preoccupied with how to keep people close and avoid the rejection.
The focus is often, in this case, on the external world. So in living there, there's a lot of preoccupation with, does somebody like me? Did I do something wrong? Or everybody keeps letting me down.
That's right.
Both of those can be a real sign of living in the red too much.
Okay, that's kind of the basics for the red side. So now we're going to move to the blue side.
Dismissive attachment, also called avoidant.
The parent is particularly not responsive to negativity or emotional neediness or anything like that, right?
Either non-responsive or so freaked out by it that it shuts them down. It doesn't mean that they're uncaring.
Mm-hmm. So basically, these are the kids. They look like good kids. Everyone's like, oh, that's such a good toddler.
They never cry.
They're so independent.
They don't even hardly need
They're pulling themselves up by the bootstraps. It's not that they don't have needs, but they have learned to just not notice that they are distressed and to self-regulate. The avoidant kids have given up hope. They've stopped sort of looking and hoping. It's a more serious, shutdown. This is the thing to most remember. It's not that we don't need it. It's that we aren't feeling our need for it.
There's a lot of pride in being able to take care of oneself, be independent. We all love Clint Eastwood in the movies.
He was very independent.
He's been divorced, 2, 3, 4 times? I don't know. Love you, Clint. But talking about relationships, staying over there in that independent self, it isn't what promotes healthy, secure relationships.
So part of what we've been describing are these organized attachment systems. So we've got secure, which is an organized way of relating, and then we have 2 types of insecure that are organized. But sometimes the trauma or the loss is so severe that we don't end up developing an organized system. It's typically like when there's been pretty severe trauma, sexual abuse, physical abuse, loss of a parent. That particular group often shows a lot more problems in life.
Disorganized attachment. So let us explain it this way. So if a child feels threat or distress, naturally tries to turn towards its parent for comfort. But if that parent is the source of threat, the child's system gets overwhelmed and they can't develop a coherent strategy for keeping themselves safe. And that, hence, is the disorganized or unresolved. So based on how our caregivers respond to our distress, do they soothe us and comfort us, or do they get overwhelmed and shut us down? It's this primary relationship or the base that sets the groundwork for what we expect in our future relationship as adults. It's like our childhood blueprint, if you will. We call it an adult internal working model.
Basically what that means, right, is it's the lens.
Right.
It's we're not thinking about it. By 2 years old only. At 2 years old is the attachment part. So it's basically our map of, is the world safe? Is the world not safe?
But let's make several important points with this. One's adult attachment category is not static. We don't just stay in one category and respond in one way. You're likely to recognize yourself at different times and in different ways of relating throughout this. So we want you to think of your internal working model on a continuum and think of it as fluid and movable.
So if you'll see on your screen, the first thing I want to draw your attention to is the spectrum itself. If everything goes well, we're going to be in the middle and we're green, which means that we're integrated and we have a balance of thinking and feeling. And when we talk about everybody has an attachment system, it's also like a regulatory system. So our regulatory system, we have all of these things. We're everything. We're dismissive, we're preoccupied, we're secure at times. And the cool thing about this is that the more you can begin to notice which parts of your mind are activated, which regulatory system is activated, boom, we have more control over it, right?
Right, and to not assume categorically you're either in one or the other.
That's right. And again, this is some of how it's different than how attachment's been explained before. Mm-hmm. So we created this continuum, and it's got little gears on it and cute little things showing that it moves.
So what's all this crazy buckets and all this stuff? The buckets are the categories, the attachment-specific categories, and they also indicate your trait as a person, like what direction you tend to lean in as a general personality characteristic. And then above, where you have the colors and the spectrum, that is really more states of mind, states of being. So if you notice, in the course of one day, in one moment you're going to be feeling really connected and grounded, and another moment you might be pretty upset. So that's what we mean by states. It's states of mind, and those are very movable. And our argument is that if we kind of increase our awareness of how to move our states into the secure pattern that we want, and we do that enough, that we're going to be building neural pathways to move our bucket from either the blue side or the red side to this deep green, and be able to rest there. It's more state-oriented instead of trait-oriented. That's the difference between states and traits.
So the green, the idea behind green is this is where we want to be. No matter where you start, we're trying to swim our way into the middle, into the integrated middle, which is a balance of thinking and feeling. So can you describe as it goes down to the red what happens?
As it goes down to the red, we are experiencing a sense of threat. Something has happened, fear of being rejected or abandoned or misunderstood. And as those threats start happening, we have it going down to the red. Reason we picked red there is because fire. Think of fire. You start
a little
hot. And what dominates in that is our emotions. Our thinking gets a little offline. The further out we go, the less intellectually aware of what we're doing and the more emotionally overwhelmed. So as it goes down further and further and deeper in the red, that means that we're getting more and more overwhelmed by our emotions. The reason you're seeing the word preoccupied is that because you're feeling a threat, you're really searching for the environment. You're really inspecting and seeing that the outside world is what's unsafe.
Yeah, and these glasses are about, when we're in the middle, we're seeing things clearly. We can see, oh, I did this, so they did that. But as we begin to go further up the spectrum, our sunglasses darken because our lens that we're seeing the world, this is where Jaws music is playing in our background. And we begin to perceive everything in this model, which is, well, obviously you did that to piss me off.
Right.
Or, well, yeah, I know you're saying you're sorry, but
don't really
that's just to get out of it. So the red, one of the things I think of with the red, and when I'm in red, just to bring it down, is like I'm not aware so much of my contributions to what the problem is. It just feels like things are happening to me. I'm not thinking things are happening to me. I mean, it's just the truth.
You just feel it.
It is, but it's not questioned. Like, this is why the sunglasses darken, is because I really perceive it. It's just real.
You did that to me. I'm positive.
Right, so we underestimate our own part. So let's pop over here real quick, the blue. If your system is not one that's activating up, it might activate down. Going down looks like you begin to cool off. Right? This is why it's blue, is
Cold.
Which
Which means aloof and distance and withdrawn.
Right.
Self-protective.
What we've done is we've deactivated our own needs, and we're just thinking, and we're being very rational and cool. It's kind of my favorite place, actually. If I'm going to be insecure, I'd rather be insecure over here than over here. But here's the problem, is if we're all zipped up and we're all cool
Right.
and everybody else is crazy, we're insecure. It's not a secure state. I feel super secure, but it's not.
It's not.
It's
right.
really not. And we're going to get into all kinds of trouble if we hang out here, and our relationships don't do so well if we hang out here.
Because it's not relational. So basically you become, as Stan Tacken talks about it, as an island, is because you're kind of over there and you can be very self-protective, but those people around you, they need relationships, and we need relationships.
That's right. And here's the thing. You need people and comfort and holding the exact same as everybody else. The trick here is you've disconnected from it. This is super important, and it's a good way to wrap up. Right. Independence is green. It means that I'm okay on my own and I'm okay with people.
There's so many ways that you can actually develop more security, whether as
That's
a
right.
parent.
That's why we're taking the trouble to do this.
Exactly.
Check out our website at therapistsuncensored.com/events, and you will find online workshops, reading and study groups, and courses.
And by the way, for those of you that are tuning into the Therapist Uncensored for the first time through this workshop, this is sort of the foundation of what our podcast, Therapist Uncensored, is all about. We want to bring relational sciences to you in a way that hopefully is usable, and we talk about just things that are important to you in everyday life on our podcast.
What we want to do now is move it from the annals of research to something.
The annals of research? Let's definitely move it out of that.
And for all of us, let's sort of milk the research from the anal glands. Oh my gosh, it's late.